There's something different about people who grew up in the 1970s, and it's not just nostalgia, it's deeper than that. They grew up in a world with no smartphones, no constant check-ins, no one tracking their every move. And now, decades later, psychologists are starting to realize something. That kind of childhood did something to their brains that can't be undone. If you know someone in their 40s or 50s who grew up in the 70s, you've probably noticed they're different. They're quieter, maybe, harder to impress. They don't jump on every trend. And it's easy to mistake that for being cold or disconnected. But here's the thing, it's not a personality flaw. It's what happens when your brain gets wired in a completely different world, a world that doesn't exist anymore. Trait 1. They can actually handle boredom. Growing up in the 70s meant you got bored, like really bored. There was no iPad to hand you, no YouTube to scroll through. If you were bored, you just were. And weirdly, that taught their brains something most of us never learn: how to be okay with nothing happening. Today, we panic if we're unstimulated for more than 30 seconds. Our brains are constantly chasing the next hit, but people from the 70s, they can just sit. No phone, no panic, just there. And honestly, that's kind of a superpower now. Trait 2. They learn to save themselves. Here's something wild. In the 1970s, parents would literally send their kids outside in the morning and say, "Come back when it gets dark." No cell phones to call, no one hovering. If you got hurt, you figured it out. And that did something to the way their brains handle stress. They learned early on, no one's coming to save you. You save yourself. Compare that to how we raise kids now. Every problem gets solved for them. Every tear gets dried immediately. So now we have adults who fall apart without constant reassurance, who need someone else to tell them they're okay. But the 70s kids, they don't wait for permission to feel fine. They already know they are. Trait 3. They don't trust things just because everyone else does. The 1970s was the decade of Watergate, of Vietnam, of realizing the people in charge were lying. Even kids picked up on it. There was this feeling in the air: don't believe everything you're told. So they grew up questioning things, not in an obnoxious way, just cautiously. Now, we see a headline go viral and we just believe it, no second thought. But people from the 70s, they pause, they dig a little deeper. They don't just swallow things whole. It's not that they're cynical, they just saw too much to be naive. Trait 4. They're stupidly good at waiting. Back then, if you wanted something, you had to wait for it. No Amazon Prime, no instant download. You saved your allowance. You circled your birthday on the calendar. You hoped. And that taught their brains to actually value the waiting part, to find meaning in anticipation. We don't have that anymore. We want it, we get it, we feel good for 5 minutes, and nothing. But 70s kids still get excited about things that take time. They still build things slowly. They still believe some things are worth the wait. They're not old-fashioned. They just remember what it feels like to earn something. Meanwhile, we can't even handle a 5-second buffer. Trait 5. They're okay being unreachable. This one's huge. When people came home in the 70s, they were just gone. No texts waiting, no missed calls to return. The world literally could not reach you. And that gave their nervous system a daily reset, a chance to actually power down. Now, we're never off. We're always reachable, always expected to respond. The stress never stops. But people from the 70s can actually disconnect. They don't feel guilty about it. They don't feel like they're missing out, because they learned something we forgot. Being alone doesn't mean you're lonely. Sometimes it just means you're free. So what does all of this add up to? When they were young, these traits made them the quiet kids, the ones off to the side, a little too independent. As teenagers, they didn't quite fit in. They weren't loud, they weren't performing for attention. But now, in their 40s and 50s, they're the ones who aren't falling apart. They're not glued to their phones. They're not spiraling every time something goes wrong. They built something inside themselves that doesn't need constant feeding, and that makes them rare. The loneliest generation, somehow became the most emotionally stable. Isn't that strange? So here's what I keep thinking about. Did growing up alone damage them, or did it protect them? Because yeah, psychologists will tell you loneliness is bad for you. But what if it wasn't loneliness? What if it was just space? Maybe the 1970s didn't break people. Maybe it just made them strong enough that they didn't need fixing. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. If this hit different, go ahead and subscribe. We talk about the psychology that actually makes sense of who you are. See you in the next one.